How about now?
This is the Sports Porch, Black and Gold, with your hosts, the technical director, the Grand Schwabini, and Hockey Jesus. Come on, Pittsburgh. Let's show a little Steelers, Penguins, and Pirates love. The Sports Porch Black and Gold starts now. All right, that's right. This is the Sports Porch Black and Gold edition, of course, coming to you from all over the world. All over the world on Facebook, YouTube, X, and the Instagram. Yes, we are on the Instagram right now. That's right. And if you care to stream on our radio station, Radio PGH, and put the comment up there right now, radiopgh.com, you can stream us live. Fellas, I'm having trouble with Twitter right now. I don't know what's going on with X. An error occurred, but they've been having outages all day long.
Yeah.
Too much NFL news.
Too much NFL news.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So I'll try to bring them in during the show. Anyway, I am your technical director. This is Hockey Jesus to my right in the studio. This is the Grand Schwabini in front of me in the studio. And yes, our special guest, the counselor, is back from a basement somewhere in Squirrel Hill that will remain undisclosed for now.
A bunker, I think.
Good.
Undisclosed location.
Yes, you may want to turn up your microphone or get closer to your microphone. It's a little maybe we need to get you a professional microphone or something like that.
It's a little dark down here. I've been looking for Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
That's better.
So what are we going to do here? Of course, we're going to talk sports, free agency. The legal tampering period began today. That's kind of like, getting completely hammered and sitting in your driveway and starting your car. You know
That's
what I
right.
mean?
You're allowed to get started, but
Legally,
you can't actually leave the room.
Legally, I can get a DUI just by sitting in my running car, even if I've never driven anywhere.
It doesn't even have to be running.
Oh, did they change that law? Those motherfuckers?
I haven't tested this, but that's my understanding.
No, well, I mean,
he is the counselor. He would know.
I know, but I am a veteran, and I think I do know.
Well, it's been a while since you've
alcohol
partaken.
problems.
Yes, all of that, all of the above.
You wouldn't need to know the alcohol laws.
If anybody needs support, just call 1-800-CHRIS-KLEIN.
That's
all
true.
right. I'm going to try Twitter one more time before we get the show going here, just to see what happens. Yes, temporary. Okay. So anyway, what are we going to do? We're going to talk Steelers free agency, obviously, or NFL free agency. A lot of shit going down today. A lot of crazy stuff all over the NFL breaking as we are doing our show, which we're going to drop into the podcast right after the show in the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you get your freaking podcasts. We're going to have a little Trader Joe snack time.
Yeah.
We may talk a little Penguins.
Oh, yeah. The big trades came up, my
deadline.
friend. Yeah, lots and lots going on in the Penguin world.
And I want you to know,
Connors.
I was down at Trader Joe's working, and the counselor showed up, and he basically got down on one knee and begged me to be on the show because he just had so much to talk about.
There is a lot going on in the sports.
Just want to be in your glow, Chris.
That's right.
In your glow.
That's right. How did Ellie's speech go today?
I think it went well. She delivered it a little while ago. I'll let you know after the show.
Okay. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
She really appreciated it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I'm glad. Just so everybody knows, Scott's daughter Ellie was doing a project for school, and she was giving a little speech on Trader Joe's and how they operate. And I of course hope things went really well for them.
Marvin, boy, that's really touching.
For her. I mean, Marvin,
thanks for bringing that to the crew.
You're welcome. Marvin Hamilton says the kid with no kids. Marvin Hamilton's back in the house. Thanks for being here, Marvin.
What's up, Marvin?
What's up?
Let's get right into it now. Before we do that, I just want you to go over to YouTube. We're only 2 subscribers away from 100.
Let's get there.
Let's
go. You can be number 100. Let's get there.
Podcast. Steelers. Are we going to have Roger Wilson at quarterback? I mean, do you think they're going to sign?
Before we go there, I pulled down from the wall behind me. This is Mike Webster pancaking Bob Golick. Franco Harris running right up over the A gap, and just beside Franco, clearing the way, is brother Craig Wolfley.
Yeah.
Just to say a word for the Wolfman,
Okay.
who will be sorely missed, and one of the greatest adopted Pittsburghers around. Anyway,
Yes, the passing of Craig Wolfley today.
This literally I have on my wall.
All right. Amy May is subscriber 99 on YouTube.
Whoa, let's go.
One more to go.
Marvin, we're going to get to this right now.
Let's get to it.
Who do you guys think will be our QB? Do we want to do the Rodgers Wilson thing, or do we want to just talk about who we've picked up and who's gone to greener pastures, who's been released, or do we just want to do the QB thing now?
Why don't we just do why don't we do the Wolfman, since he just brought it up?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, let's finish with that.
All right, let's
start with that.
Scott, Wolfman, talk to us.
Yeah, I just think that, for those of us who grew up here, and Wolf was at the tail end of the Super Bowl teams, didn't play on them, but heart and soul guy, 5th round draft pick. Was dominant at times, had a very colorful post career, but just he's almost Mike Lang like, without sort of calling the games, and without having that length of time being on the radio. But the slobber knockers and that lineman needs 4 legs and 6 arms to block that guy, that type of thing. He was just a one of a kind. So, hearing people die at 66,
you
guys, is just really sad.
Yeah, he was right out of the mold of Myron Cope, but clearly he was listening to Cope when he brought his style in. And he just had a unique way of saying things, and he didn't really care. He just said it no matter the way it came to his mind. And some of the time it was just like, what was that? But it worked. It always worked with him. It is a shame, leaving us so early. But hey, we're all headed in this direction. It's sad, but rest in peace, Craig Wolfley. You will be missed.
Are we headed in the exact same direction?
Oh,
we all are.
We're all headed in that direction, Chris. One out of one every time.
You have a 100% chance of dying.
Really? Mm-hmm. I mean, are you sure about that?
I'd venture to say it's even higher than that.
All right, let's move on.
Mark, you don't need to give 110% to that one.
No, no.
Maybe for Klein.
You know what, guys? I mean, as a testimony to the epic failure I have become, how many times have I tried to die and failed?
Plenty.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, come on.
You're probably dead in a parallel universe.
I mean, seriously, that
might take you down to like 99.2%.
Yeah. Thank you.
Coaching kids sports, I always said you'll learn more from your failures than your successes.
Right. That's exactly right. And what I've learned is that I'm either a failure or a great survivor. I haven't decided yet.
You're probably a little bit of both.
In that respect, you're a success.
There you go. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
To quote Jalen Hurts, you don't fail, you learn.
All right, let's get to get to what happened today.
Amy May says Pittsburgh screwed up letting Fields go. I'm quitting watching the Steelers if Aaron Rodgers comes here. I am done.
Wow. Hot take.
I enjoyed his take on the game. Marvin was talking about Wolfley, of course. So I mean, I joke because I always want to say Justin Wilson or Russell Fields, or I mix that up. I mean, first of all, Fields is gone. I never thought he was going to stay here. I think if you listen to our show last week, I actually said, if I'm Justin Fields and I'm a young guy, and I picked the wrong team, but New York is a place where young people like to go hang out. If you have $30 million guaranteed, you're going to have a goddamn good time there. So if you're 26 years old, you go to New York, or if you're 26 years old, you go to Vegas. And I know a lot has been made about, well, he was benched last year, so he definitely doesn't want to come back to that's the reason why. And well, sure. I mean, that could be part of it, but it's also like, here's $30 million guaranteed. Welcome to the Big Apple. I'm not surprised at all. That's my point. I said last week I didn't think he was coming back, and this is not surprising at all to me. How about you, Counselor?
Yeah, I don't want to dwell on this. I agree with Amy 1,000%. Actually, I think I said to my wife when she came home from work that if Aaron Rodgers is quarterbacking the team, I might just sell my tickets for the whole year. So anyway, I don't know what to say, because for me, I think they wasted time. I think they missed an opportunity. I think Fields was way better than he ever was in Chicago. And if he would have continued to improve, I'm not saying he is Lamar Jackson, but Lamar Jackson improved immensely from the time he was a rookie to where he is now. And again, I'm not saying that Fields is Lamar Jackson, but he can definitely run like him. I don't know that he'll ever be able to throw like him, but I think it was a mistake to let him go.
Well, I don't actually think the Steelers let him go. I think the Steelers made a bid for him. They probably gave him similar money, just didn't give him as much guaranteed. And I believe that the Jets just said, we'll throw in 10 more million guaranteed. And because of what happened with Fields throughout the season, I think he was a little taken aback by going 4-2 and then getting benched. Although he shouldn't have been, but I think he was, and rightfully so. I mean, let's face it, the Steelers haven't been good with their quarterback negotiations over the past few years, starting with Trubisky when they brought him in, and then they then they bring in Fields and Wilson last year. So the Steelers like to hedge their bets a lot when it comes to the quarterback position. They're not all in with the quarterback since Ben's been gone. And I think Fields said, you know what? I've got a similar deal in New York. I can take it. I know Garrett Wilson out there. I've got a great running back in Breece Hall. Let's just see what happens. So I think that's really what happened. I'm not faulting the Steelers on this one, because I do believe they made a play for him. They just didn't make a big enough play to enable to keep him. And now they're still searching for a quarterback. What do you think?
They've been searching, and they were indecisive about it. I think that's my point, Stevie. And does Aaron Rodgers have any upside at all, or Russell Fields for that matter? I mean,
right. Well, Grant Schwabini, what's your take on this?
Well, my take on it, it may be different than all of yours. I personally don't think that any of these guys really are the future quarterback that's going to take the Steelers to the promised land.
Right.
So I think what they're looking at is, they're if they choose Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers, they're basically sort of fooling themselves into thinking we can take a run at it next year, which will probably have the same results as this past year.
The Steelers are good at fooling themselves,
right?
By
the way. To me, what I would have done, I would have went with Justin Fields just because he does have the talent, and maybe with the right coaching and time, that talent would come to be. I think, unfortunately, we didn't really get to see that through here in Pittsburgh because he was pulled after a 4-2 start. But I still would have, even in the offseason, said, let's get the full 17 games next year and see. Yeah. And you know what? If we're not good, we'll get a higher pick, right? Right now, I don't know. I just feel like they're kind of in no man's land. They kind of look like they don't even know what to do at the quarterback position. And I'm just sitting here and I'm thinking about who are their choices. It's Rodgers or Russell Wilson. And to be completely honest, I'm thinking, boy, whoever they select, they ought to try to trade up and take a quarterback in the first round.
Yeah, and we all saw how that worked out. Official Chris Chad on Instagram, so I recopied it to our Sports YouTube page, says, I'm starting to think Ben is slightly serious about coming back. He keeps bringing it up on socials. And Marvin Hamilton, I think, is 100% agreeing with you, Grant Schwabini. Here's what I think. I think this is still a dumpster fire. I don't care what anybody says about a 10-7 season. This is what I love. And you know what? I actually am not a great big fan of Bob Pompiani's take. I know he's a legendary guy and a really nice person and a Pittsburgh dude. And I'm sure, I listen to him a lot and I think he's a great person. It's not that I think he's dumb, but I completely disagree with his take. Every time he hears this argument, he says, Well, what do you mean they're not competitive? They were 10-7. But at the same time, he sings the song of they got to do something about Mike Tomlin. Look, you can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, the Steelers, Mike Tomlin has not coached a bad team to a 10-7 record now or a 9-8 or an 8-8 record now for the last 8 or 9 years because he's a great coach. All right. I'm done with that. Done with it. Okay. He's been able to do that because he's an NFL qualified coach who has been given NFL talent that is just good enough to play that game. And this is a dumpster fire. It's a complete dumpster fire. Okay. You have overpaid a mediocre defense that has one star player on it in TJ Watt, another guy in, who I'm thinking about, Cam Hayward, who played out of his ass last year, but he's not going to have a year like that this year. I guarantee you his best days are not only behind him, they're done. Okay. He's just not going to have that year this year. Why do you think he wanted a 3-year deal? Because he wanted to get the money. He knows damn well he's not going to have that year this year. Patrick Queen, who could be good, but probably won't be a secondary. Hold on, counselor. I know you want to get in here. What I'm saying is there is no answer. You get DK Metcalf, who is a very talented receiver, and you pay him a ton of money, and you have absolutely no answer at the quarterback position. Aaron Rodgers last year threw for 3,800 yards and 28 touchdowns with 12 picks. I might be wrong in the picks, but I'm close. Most of that came after it was very evident that they were not going to make the playoffs and they were a very bad team. We did the set. Now, I did hear this on sports radio, and I agreed with it. It wasn't Pomp. It was somebody else. We did the same shit with Russell Wilson last year. A lot of us, not everybody. Yeah, we said, 28 touchdowns and 11 interceptions, and they gave up on him. It was a shitty team. The same thing. Rodgers is not the answer. Wilson is not the answer. You brought in Metcalf. Yes, he's gonna pull a little attention away from Pickens. I get it. But unless that offensive line, and then we can always go to Dan Moore leaving. Thank God. Now we got Jones at his natural position. So probably. But it's a dumpster fire right now. And to me, it's not going anywhere.
I wouldn't say dumpster fire. Though.
I think it is.
I think it is.
Dumpster fire is the Cleveland Browns.
Who's your running back? Well, the Cleveland Browns is
it doesn't matter.
Is an oil well on fire. Go ahead,
unless you have one of the top two guys. I think we saw that this year, and even those guys are largely a product of the offensive lines in front of them. Okay, there's a reason why Barkley didn't have the year in New York that he did this year. There's a reason why Henry didn't have the year the last couple of years, but. I do want to say I don't disagree with you. I agree with Steve, Mark. Everybody said something smart here. I think my issue is Fields was the best available with some upside. We don't fully know what he is because he played he did play in a dumpster fire of a team. Chicago is where quarterbacks go to die. Okay.
And the Jets.
So I agree with Mark. I think they should have given him the ball for 17 games and said, you know what, this is the best we got. Let him run around. Let him try to air it out. I don't know. If he turned the ball over, then maybe we pick 12th instead of 22nd or 21st, which we do every year. Maybe then we have a chance to move up. As it is now, like if we finish 10-7 again, we have no chance to move up into the range to even get a quarterback. We're going to be talking about this same conversation next year.
And the year after that.
I will say one thing about Cam Hayward because I was wrong. I heard you guys talk about him. I know Steve and I talked like as he was holding out or holding in or whatever, and we were of the same mindset. So you heard what Stevie said. But I will say one thing about Cam Hayward that's different is he largely did not play until his third year. That is very different than guys today. So I would minus his age by 2 and say he's more like, a guy who's a couple years younger than what he really is. So I'm not disagreeing with you. I mean, Father Time hits everybody, which is why are we signing a redo of Patrick Peterson with Darius Slay, by the way? Another 40-year-old cornerback.
Let's
maybe.
Let's just pivot and talk about that. So. Yeah. Big play Slay, as they say. Big play Slay. I'm 100% with you on that. The only thing I would say, I know that Grant Schwabe is going to disagree. He's going to disagree. I'm with you on that, other than the fact that even though he's a year older than Peterson was when Peterson came here, he did perform pretty well last year for the Eagles. But
the best defense in the NFL.
That's true. So go ahead, Schwaber, talk about it.
But he's a part of it, though. I mean, he was the number one cornerback on that first ranked defense.
No, he wasn't, Mark.
Well, I mean, you
Mitchell
can
was the number one quarterback. After 4 games, Mitchell was number one.
That's not what he said on the Philly show.
Well, I mean, look, is Quinyon Mitchell the best cornerback on the team last year? Yes, he is. But mostly the number one receiver would get followed by Slay. So, I mean, look, here's the bottom line. Patrick Peterson stunk before he got here because his career was winding down. Darius Slay, we wonder when his career will wind down, but it hasn't happened yet. He was really good this past year. So
why didn't they keep him?
It just because of money. Because of money, they can't. They paid him $10 million last year. They can't. Why would you pay him when you've got Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean,
right,
who are on rookie contracts? Yeah. And you're trying to pay some other people too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, they've done a good job. I mean, signing Bond. I mean, I don't think anybody thought they'd be able to do that. So I just, I think, buyer beware on any defensive player whose game relies on speed when they get to their middle 30s. Again, Cam Hayward, just talking about, like, Cam Hayward's game is not dependent on speed. It's dependent on power.
Here's my take on Slay. First of all, we don't know that he's a Pittsburgh Steeler yet. If you look wherever the news you get from, nobody has stated terms and money. So this may not be a done deal yet. So although everybody's saying, sources say, they're not saying the terms yet. And that makes me a little bit nervous because everybody else, they're saying year in money or what they had to give up to get him so that they could sign him in the case of DK Metcalf. So pump your brakes a little bit on Slay. But if let's say he does come here, I like it for 2 reasons. One, he's going to play, and he's not going to probably play every down, every play. And he's going to be a good mentor for JP Jr. I think JP Jr. needs that to be able to take his game to the next level. And Slay was there, and he saw 2 really good cornerbacks grow. And I think he was part of that growth. So I think it's a really good sign from that standpoint. Let's see what the terms are. Let's see what the money is, because that will determine whether or not you think it's a good deal or not. So until that happens, until he puts on the Steeler uniform, let's pump the brakes on saying Slay's too old and he's too slow.
Yeah, and I do agree with that completely. I think he will be a great mentor for JPJ. And he needs one because he's got a lot of talent, and Slay knows how to play the position. It's like having another coach on the field. He really helped Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell. I heard countless stories about, film study together and things like that. I mean, it really could help.
He has a similar style too. I think he's got a similar above the waist style.
He also pisses off George Pickens, so they could get in the fights in practice. Which
that would be nice.
That'll also be fun for us.
That would be nice. That would be nice.
I'd like to see George Pickens pick a fight with DK Metcalf.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Now we're talking.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to DK Metcalf. By the way, it is official that he has been traded to the Steelers.
Or is he doing some DJing now?
Yeah.
DJ Metcalf.
DJ DK.
Thank you very much for pointing that out. What's your take on this, Grant Schwabini?
I love this deal. This is I know it doesn't solve everything for the Steelers because first of all, they need somebody to throw the ball to them, right?
Right.
But I will tell you that, my biggest reason why the Steelers haven't been able to get into the contender category. I feel like they're sort of like in that pretender category.
Mm-hmm.
They're in the playoffs by one game, or they're out of the playoffs and they lose the first playoff game. I think the reason why they haven't gotten into the contender category is because they just have a lack of talent.
Right.
And DK Metcalf is, no doubt about it, without question, a number one wide receiver. He's got a bigger body than almost everybody in the league. He's like an A.J. Brown.
Mm-hmm.
He is basically uncoverable. And, that's going to be a huge boost to a really struggling offense the past couple years. So I think it's a great trade. I think it's amazing. It's to me, it's been the best news that the Steelers have had in a long time. That's my thought.
Counselor?
Yeah, the Steelers have surprised me. The saying is, throw him open. I mean, this guy's going to be open no matter what. He makes the team instantly better. Even if Skylar Thompson is the quarterback. But the reality is they have not had enough weapons. Mark's spot on that. And we're assuming a lot here if Pickens can behave himself and, if he listens to his agent who's telling him to go ball out, and then, he can hit the big contract this year. Having those two guys go downfield, I think Chris Chada pointed it out. Big Ben called it out. The opportunity to have those two guys running down the field and, what they potentially would have, assuming, they can get a running game and they get some stability on the line with these young guys. I mean, it's just it's a home run, and the Steelers surprised me. I would have never expected this in a million years.
Yeah, and now they can use CA3 as the number 3 wide receiver, which is where he belongs. They still got that rookie that didn't play at all last year from Michigan. Hopefully he can also step his game up and actually play some for the Steelers this year. So I do like that, and it does still leave the big question mark: who is going to throw him the ball? And I think this is where the Steelers are making I wouldn't say a big mistake, but they have problems with their future. They think their future is now. Maybe it has to be. Maybe that's what they're thinking. They're thinking it has to be now. So why not go get somebody like DK Metcalf, who's good now, probably won't be great in 3 years. That contract's a little long for him, probably, but they think that they can do it in the next 2 or 3 years, and I think that's pretty foolish on their standpoint. But I think this is where they're headed, and they don't know anything else. They really want to be. They want to be in the talk for not just being in the playoffs, but winning some playoffs. And I just don't know if they're ready to take that next step. And this is the problem that I have with their philosophy. I do love the fact that they are going at it and they're going after it. I just wish that they would have started with the quarterback position, because then everything else would feel like it's planned. Now they don't have a quarterback. Everything's going to seem reactionary from this point forward.
I keep going back to last week when I said the Steelers don't have a quarterback. Here we are. Free agency is, for all intents and purposes, begun. And the Steelers still don't have a quarterback.
Well, there's still plenty of quarterbacks out there to get.
Right.
It's not like there aren't any quarterbacks.
Right.
Well, there's 2.
Right.
Well, there's more than that.
Yeah.
Who else?
Right.
Daniel Jones.
Oh, yeah.
3.
I'm just saying,
Okay.
quarterbers who have started in the NFL.
And you know what?
It's a select group that are elite. So those are never on the board.
You know what? Something, to be completely honest with you guys, I would actually take Daniel Jones over Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. I'm not kidding either.
He's the young quarterback.
I've watched enough Giants games to know. First of all, Daniel Jones can run.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
he's mobile. Yeah,
he can run. He's mobile. He's got a good arm.
Yep.
He's really. It's look. He's not Saquon Barkley, obviously, but I'm trying to draw the parallel that he's been in a dumpster fire situation for years. I think he can really sling it. So I'd take a shot on him over a guy who's 40 and a guy who's 37.
Yeah, I mean, then you got Kirk Cousins and guys like that. There are guys out there, but I agree with you. The only one that's young that the Steelers may have a chance at is Daniel Jones. And let's face it, the Steelers don't prize the quarterback position. So if they get somebody in there who could, quote unquote, manage the game, that's what they're looking for.
That's why I say it's a dumpster fire. You don't prize. Wait a minute.
It's just the wrong priority.
Absolutely. It's a dumpster fire when you don't.
A dumpster fire means everything is on fire.
Right.
Not everything is on fire.
It means the dumpster is on fire, and the Steelers are a dumpster right now. When you don't prize the most important position in the game, you're a dumpster fire.
But Chris, they botched this in previous years. It's not their fault that the draft class this year sucks, and they were lured into believing Kenny Pickett was
that's the biggest.
No, Scott, I respectfully disagree. It is their fault because they knew Ben Roethlisberger was going to leave, and they had every opportunity.
But this isn't the Cleveland Browns or the Carolina Panthers or the
Jacksonville sure as fuck Jaguars feels like it. We're sitting here arguing. We're arguing over Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers, two guys that, as far as I'm concerned, are 3 years away from being in walkers because their knees are so bad. And we're trying to sit here and say that DK Metcalf is a DK Metcalf.
DJ Metcalf.
I know. DJ Metcalf is an incredible pickup for them. We don't even know who's going to be throwing to him. Look, his best year for the Seahawks was when Geno Smith was throwing to him. He had 90 receptions in 2022, 90 receptions on 141 targets, 1,048 yards, and 6 touchdowns. That's good, but it's not great. Okay, so he's played every game of every season except the last 2. He missed 2 games this past season and 1 game the season before. Other than that 90 reception season, his other best season was 83 receptions. This is Wilson's last year or next to last year in Seattle. It was the 2020 COVID year. 16 games, 83 receptions on 129 targets, 1,300 yards, and 10 touchdowns. That's pretty good.
What's his yards per catch?
His yards per catch, 14.4.
That's pretty damn good.
It is pretty good. But my point is
also a team that really focuses on running the ball too.
Right. My point is Russell Wilson, Geno Smith. Okay, who do you think we should sign if we're going to sign anyone? It should be Russell Wilson.
Geno Smith. Oh,
he was traded, by the way.
Yeah, I know. He's off the board.
I guess I'm just saying, like, if they're trying to win now, look, we still have to address a running back situation. We still have to hope that the offensive line, now that it's been retooled with Dan Moore Jr. gone and Broderick Jones supposedly starting at left tackle and Fuamatu Maafalo or whoever the hell that guy is.
Right.
He's an old guy. Is that him?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Who was the other guy that had a name like that? He was a running back a few years back.
We don't care about them.
Yeah.
Hey, Pat's on track, by the way.
Yeah.
Steelers went to the Super Bowl with Neil O'Donnell.
Neil O'Donnell.
So he's actually a little off track.
Well,
he's a little off track.
The E and the A.
Neil O'Donnell going to throw it to DJ Metcalf.
They botched it at Kenny Pickett, then again with Wilson, and now again with Fields. Tomlin is no longer able to make good decisions. That's what Amy says.
Well, Tomlin's never been able to figure out the quarterback position. That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
This is not breaking news.
Yeah. So I guess I'm not confident that any of these moves are going to amount to very much. If you look at them singularly, is DK Metcalf a beast and a freak of nature on the football field? Yeah. Is he the answer? I don't know.
Yeah, he's part of the answer.
Well, but you can't tell me who's throwing him the ball.
If they would have had him last year in the number 1 spot, they would have been much better off.
Yeah.
I agree.
So I mean, that alone tells you he's going to make a difference.
Yeah.
The question is, who's going to throw in the ball? If it's Russ, then we're already saying the offense is better. So what the fuck are we saying? I mean, that's the point.
Yeah.
That's the point. We're trying to be better than last year. Does that mean we're going to be Super Bowl contenders? Absolutely not. But does it make us better? Yes, it does make us better from an offensive standpoint. So let's just roll with it. I mean, I don't think they're a dumpster fire at all. I think they have holes that they can't fill because many NFL teams can't fill the quarterback void. They're just trying to put a plug in that dam.
That's what we're doing.
That's it. That's all you got, unless you drafted Jaden Daniels last year or Caleb Williams, you're in the same freaking position. Look, the Minnesota Vikings drafted a quarterback in the first round, and they did damn good with Sam Darnold, but they're in the same position that the Steelers in. They lost a playoff game, the same exact position. So this is the point. The point is, I think we're getting better. I think that we can get better, but we absolutely have to get a quarterback of some value. And if it's Russell Wilson, then, we're where we were last year with a better wide receiver. That's not too bad.
Well, all right. And that being said, go ahead, Counselor. One more before we move on.
I just want to say here, like the realm of elite quarterbacks who are really going to take the team and make them contenders is pretty narrow. And look, even at Dak Prescott, I think Dak Prescott, who I think might be the highest paid quarterback right now. I think he's won one playoff game.
He is.
I think Dak Prescott has won one playoff game. So that right there kind of tells you how out of kilter the whole situation is.
All right. Well, while we were having this debate, my lovely wife, the Pittsburgh Property Diva, who you can find at pittsburghpropertydiva.com, did bring us down our Trader Joe's snack time. Counselor, I'm sorry you're not here to experience this.
I can smell it.
But you could you could smell it. So we're gonna move on to Trader Joe's snack time before this here gets a little cold.
Before fisticuffs starts like.
Yeah, let's go.
Taste the biscuit. Taste the goodness of the biscuit.
Oh yeah.
Taste the
honey sauce.
Taste the goodness of the biscuit with that honey sauce.
That's what I'm saying.
To get that honey
sauce on me.
I don't like the way it tastes with my chicken wings.
Well, we all know what that means. That means it's Trader Joe's snack time. And that means that, yes, we are going to eat something. This is Trader Joe's snack time. And of course, everybody knows that I work at Trader Joe's down at East Liberty. It's a great place to work. It's a great store, great food, great people, great friends. I actually have groupies that come down to see me all the time and a stalker. So what do we do? Trader Joe's did not pay us for this segment, so it's not a paid sponsorship, but they did give me permission to do it. I bring home a Trader Joe's product every week. We sample it. We give you our independent, unbiased,
honest opinion,
poor opinion, and then you can go buy it if you want or not. This week, for our Trader Joe's segment, this is something I've been wanting to bring home for a long time. I watch a lot of people buy it and talk about it. It is Trader Joe's snack time scallion pancakes.
I do love scallion pancakes, so I'm very interested.
Okay.
I'm very interested.
Now, I don't have anything to put on them. This is just the raw, not raw. I mean, my lovely wife did
unprepared.
Unprepared. He says he walks in every week and says, "What are we eating?" And then he tells me I'm unprepared. All right.
Hey, Amy wants to give a percentage chance of Rodgers being Steeler quarterback this season. What do you think there, Counselor?
40%.
I give it 33.3. I think it's between him, Russ, and somebody we don't know.
Here.
I'm going to give it 50%.
Ooh, one of two. Wow. Mm-hmm. You know, that means Amy might not be a Steelers fan this year.
I do.
There's a 50% chance of Amy not being a Steeler fan. Wow, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, it was heated up.
Hey, Scotty, what do you think of these other moves? What do you think of the linebacker they got from Baltimore, Malik Harrison? You hear they picked him up 2 years, $10 million?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, they picked him up from the Ravens, I guess.
Did that just happen?
Yeah, like about 30 minutes ago, 45 minutes ago, somewhere around there.
let's get somebody new into the show here. Troy on Facebook. Thanks for being here, buddy.
Hey, Troy, what's up?
What do you guys think about Kenny Pickett going to the Cleveland Browns? I wish he will fall on his face. That's a good topic while we eat.
I can't wait till that home game.
Oh my God! Yeah,
I can't wait.
Hopefully he'll play and he won't be kneeling on the ball like he did.
Troy, come find me in section 512. I'll buy you a beer, brother. I can't wait.
What do you think? You think he's going to start up there?
I don't know. I mean, they're saying that Watson needed revision surgery. Which,
right.
I mean, to me, this sounds like it could be career ending. And maybe that's where Cleveland wants it to go.
Let's hope.
Yeah, probably. But they pick up Kenny Pickett to be their starter. Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, it tells me that they're gonna draft a quarterback, don't you think?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I think you're right about that. What
they're just thinking if we have Kenny, here for a year, we're gonna suck no matter what. And I guess Myles Garrett is gonna have 35 sacks for him now.
Well, he just wants to win championships.
He just wants to win championships with Cleveland. That's got to be a good one.
They told him Kenny Pickett was going to be the quarterback, and he said, "Oh, Super Bowl."
Hey, Scotty, what else? What do you think about that Ryan McCollum signing? They signed him the 1-year contract.
Oh, I love signing Ryan McCollum. Now they just need to sign Ben Skronik, who's not a wide receiver. He's not a gunner. He's a football player.
And what do you think about the release of Ogunjobi?
For what it's worth, I mean, you read those Pro Football Reference and Pro Football Focus. I mean, Ogunjobi was terrible. I don't know that he's ever really recovered from this foot issue, which I think became a chronic issue.
Yeah.
I think that may have been originally why he didn't pass the physical. Remember, he was going to Chicago when the Steelers got him.
Right.
So, that is kind of a tell for me. The one thing I will say, you guys, Chris, you brought this up. I don't mean to throw gasoline on your fire, Chris, but shame on Pittsburgh sports media. Guys were just giving Dan Moore such grief. Look, I'm happy for Dan Moore. The guy persevered.
Exactly.
He had people drafted time and time again to beat him out. None of them could beat him out.
Yeah, he was a 5th-round pick, right?
He wasn't great, but he plays the second most difficult position in the game. And I say that I think it's more difficult than cornerback because left tackle is the blind side, and if the left tackle doesn't do his job, the quarterback might be dead. So good for Dan Moore getting $50 million guaranteed. I thought the guys on radio were just awful.
The last silly question I have is, who do you think is going to wear the number 14? DK Metcalf or George Pickens?
I think it'll be interesting. I was surprised if you were Pickens, and I'm sure Pickens' agent thought of this, I'd be telling him to give it to Metcalf. If I were him, I'd tweet directly at Metcalf, give him the number, tell him how excited he is to be here. Because again, the difference.
Sounds like a mature person.
Yeah, but listen. The length of careers in this league tell you that he's going to get one big contract. Okay. Yeah. And the difference between him getting 4 years, 30 million or more versus getting 2 years, 15 million or 20 million, is a big deal.
Yeah, it is. He's playing for a lot this year, provided he's going to be playing for the Steelers. I assume that he's going to play for the Steelers. Lastly, if the Steelers do get Aaron Rodgers, how would you feel about him wearing the number 12?
No.
Why? Why not?
Come on, it's not retired.
They don't give it out. They don't give 12 out. They don't give 58 out. They don't give 47 out. There's a whole bunch
43.
Of them don't give out. Sorry.
So you don't think that's a possibility?
Maybe that's reason enough for him not to come.
How about number 120? Just to make things easier.
No, he can wear 0.
How about a decimal point? 0.12 for
there
Steve.
You go. Amy May says, how are the pancakes?
Well, Mark, what do you think?
They're good, but you do need something with them.
You need like some sort of chili oil or
like
would you dip 'em in?
sour cream,
Sweet and sour sauce.
Yeah,
they're very good with like a
About the honey sauce.
You know the kind of sauce that they put on pot stickers?
Honey sauce.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's honey sauce, but you know that kind of dark sauce.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, it's real good on these.
hoisin sauce.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hoisin sauce. Right?
Mhm.
Yeah, that'd be good.
I don't even know if that's right, but I think it is. Pat Off Track says John Kruk gave up 99 to Mitch Williams for a case of beer.
Kruk won that deal
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
I think
Yeah,
that's still kind of off track.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're talking about giving up numbers.
Yeah, but he went. Yeah, but he went like baseball and the 80s.
Well, I mean, he's at least in the Milky Way galaxy. He's still in the Milky Way galaxy.
I give these a thumbs up. I do like them. I like the crunchy exterior.
Yeah,
but yet they got a little bit of softness in
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But they definitely need an accompaniment.
I thought they were going to taste like a naan, but they're not. They're much flatter and crispier than.
So you guys, I do, Chris. I don't want to hijack you here, but while you continue to chew, I do want to just point out for those who don't read The Athletic, which if you can get The Athletic, it's a great publication. The Athletic Pulse basically had a story yesterday about the lead of the day was wasting Paul Skeens, and shame on the Pirates, and that Nutting should be should be tried for wasting a generational talent. And then today, The Athletic actually rated franchises best to worst based on their success rate. They had criteria, one of those. Stevie, they did this for the Penguins and concluded the Penguins were like the best team of the post-salary cap era based on success measures of how many consecutive years getting the playoffs, plus et cetera, conference championships. The Pirates were actually the worst franchise, and they were the only franchise in the Athletics rating to be a negative team. So anyway, that's probably all we should say about the Pirates.
Ever.
That's a negative team.
That is all we're going to say about them this week for sure. I'll tell you what, guys.
Tell us.
I have this really bad feeling that the Steelers are going to sign Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
We were asking about percentages.
What's your percentage?
You didn't give a percentage.
Yeah, I know. I didn't
What
get
are you
a
going, 100%?
No. I'm going to give it 85.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why do you think?
Have you been talking to Jazina Anderson?
Were you buying Tesla stock and Nvidia on the way down today?
Yes.
Buy it now. It's low.
I just feel like this is a Steelers thing to do right now. Like, I'm so. You guys already know how I feel about the whole QB situation.
Yep.
I am so not on this wavelength that they're on. Like, I'm not even tuned in to how some of these decisions are being made.
Hockey Jesus, is this the time we tell Chris that it's basically the best time of the year for hockey?
Oh, I know it is.
It absolutely is.
Might be time to change the subject here, Chris.
Actually, that's not true. This is a really great time for the NFL.
Yeah, well,
all the movement, and then you got the draft coming up. After the draft, then you're in the playoffs. Unfortunately, the Penguins will be out of it by then. I think that's prime time. Unless, of course, you're in the NBA, which
this is I mean, part of it is like this is tournament time, so the big tournaments are going on. The Big Ten tournament started last week, and lots of high school stuff. The PIHL semifinals are going on right now, which I thought about going, but I watched too much Minnesota high school hockey this weekend.
So I just feel I feel like this is going down a road That is
Chris,
just
don't you want to ask Steve about the deadline deals the Penguins made and how Cal Dubas did?
Of course I do, Counselor. I'm getting to it. I've got to roll us through what we're doing here, and then we'll get there. I just want to remind everybody again that every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. you can catch us live all over the world on Facebook, YouTube, X, and the Gram. I'm still trying to get us on X. It just won't let me do it. So I apologize to our typical X viewers if they catch us later. We drop the podcast right after the show on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you get your friggin' podcasts. And you can subscribe to our channel on YouTube at the Sports Porch Podcast. Go there right now and do it. I'm telling you right now, you won't regret it. Right now, we have somebody special, as we do every week. In our studio to my right, this is Hockey Jesus. Hockey Jesus, I love I love the new background there.
Preach.
I'm working on it
in the studio. It's a work in progress.
Yep.
But Hockey Jesus generally preaches after every single Penguins game. Although I know that lately there have been a few. Now you know how I felt when I was trying to do it with the Pirates, and I'm not even a Pirates fan after they started losing. God damn it! After every game, how do you talk? At least the Penguins.
I think Hockey Jesus is needed to go to the confessional after some of those games.
Yeah, after all the swearing. But now that it is obvious that, I think not only do the fans realize it, but it seems to me like the players realize it. It also seems to me like management realizes it. There was a text you sent out the other day that I thought was really interesting, and then it was backed up on the radio. I heard it as a fact. They have 31 picks in the next 3 years. I'm going to ask this question, then I'm going to let you and the counselor and the Grand Schwabini, because I'm not the hockey expert here, but
clearly.
But does that 31 picks, like 4 first-round picks or something in the next 3 years?
That sounds about right.
Something like that.
And 6 second-rounders.
Okay, so do they have enough picks and or enough it's now draft capital as well to turn this around in time for maybe Sid to have one more run at a cup in Pittsburgh? Because that's really what people want to see.
The answer to that question is it depends.
Love that. Yeah. Why didn't you let the counselor answer that question? Because that's what he would say.
Well, he's the preacher.
Well, if you listen, there are certain people you have to listen to, and the only person that matters when it comes to draft picks is you listen to Kyle Dubas. And Dubas the other day basically said, there's no way we're going to use all 30 picks. We're definitely going to trade some of these away. They're going to be used as trade bait so that we can go get other players that will fit in a sooner time frame. How smart they use those will depend on the players they get and the right fit to be able to gel properly. That combined with the new guys coming up next year, Ponomarev and Rutger McGroarty, Pickering will probably be a mainstay all year next year. Koivunen, right? Exactly. These guys have to come up and have to play all season, unless they get injured, of course. They still have a big hole that they got to decide what to do with, and this is something that I have no faith that Kyle Dubas is good at. Much like the Steelers can't pick a quarterback, Kyle Dubas can't pick a goalie.
Right.
So that's going to be a lingering problem. But let's just set that to the side. With their 30 picks, I think he's done a fantastic job over the past 2 years of not only being, I will say, competitive, not in a playoff, Stanley Cup championship way, but to not look like fools out there, to be able to let Sidney play at a high level. The big problem they have, and I think, Counselor, I'd like to get your thoughts on this. The big problem I think they have is not with the first line. The first line's set, and it's very good. It's a good first line for any NHL team. It's their second line. Their second line is garbage. Their second line might as well be their third or their fourth line because Gino just has lost the ability to want to play the game, to be able to play the game at a high level, and to be a number 2 center in the league. What do you think about that, Counselor?
Yeah, I agree with that. I sent a text to Stevie, you guys, the other night. We were watching the game and texting, and I said that part of the success here in the next couple of years, Chris, to answer your question, is about Gino. And if Gino decided to step away, and they had that cap space. They have right now 15 million in cap space, which is nothing to sneeze at. It's a lot, different from the NFL.
And the cap's going up next year.
But the team that's just utterly surprised this year has been the Washington Capitals,
right?
Which basically have done what Dubas is trying to do, which is to collect those picks and then flip those picks into young players. I'll give you a statistic that I took a look at earlier today. This is the hockey stat of the day for optimism. I'm going to flip to another screen real quickly here. Phil Tomasino, who came to the Penguins for nothing from Nashville, is a former number 1 pick, has 7 goals and 12 points in 28 games. Okay. Here's the important point. He's skating only an average of 13:30 a game, so 13 and a half minutes a game. But his goal rate is 1.12 per 60 minutes. Okay. That puts him in the 73rd percentile in the NHL. Okay. So by comparison, Jake Gensel's goal rate per 60 minutes is 1.5. Okay. So this guy's trending in the direction of Jake. He's never going to be Jake. But if we hit on a couple of Phil Tomasino likes, and we brought a couple of them in from Toronto, the trade deadlines. Connor Timmins, one of them.
Dewar is the other one.
Yeah, Connor Timmins, the defenseman, is 6'3", 212 pounds, and he looked like a freaking wrecking ball yesterday in his first game. And we don't have anybody like that. And the guy can skate too. Yeah, and I think he's 23 years old.
Yep.
So to answer your question, the real issue is going to be, and unfortunately, a lot of people in Pittsburgh, I think in the Twitter sphere, I understand, and also in the media, are viewing the success of this trade deadline as a failure because they didn't trade Rickard Rakell. That's the wrong way to look at it, because we don't know what they were offered for Rickard Rakell. And here's what I do know.
Yeah.
Mikko Rantanen, who was the top player traded, was the only one to fetch a great young prospect in return, and that's Logan Stankoven. Stankoven right. Was traded to Carolina. Stankoven's only played about 80 games in the NHL. He lit it on fire his first year when he only played in about 15. He's had a sophomore slump. The reason I'm pointing this out is because what the Penguins really need to do this summer is take some of those picks and translate them into good young players who are can't-miss players. What do I mean? Go back to the Minnesota Wild. A couple years ago, the Minnesota Wild bought out the contracts of Zach Parise and Ryan Suter, whom they signed on the same day to 13-year contracts. Because they bought them out under NHL rules. By the way, this is the 4th year. They're still paying the price of those
contracts. One more year.
Because they bought them out, they couldn't afford to sign Kevin Fiala to a long-term deal, who was coming off of unrestricted, which meant his salary was going to go from about $1.5 million, $2 million to $5 or $7 million. What Dubas is looking for is a Kevin Fiala-like situation, or getting the return for Kevin Fiala, who is none other than Brock Faber, who, by the way, was the top defenseman in the Four Nations tournament for the U.S.
Yeah, he was
within a couple of years will be the best American defenseman in the NHL. So my point is,
Fox still might be there.
That's the it depends that Steve says, which is, can you translate some of these picks, or do you hit on one or two of the picks? Because the biggest difference, you guys, between the NHL and the NFL, and I know this because my son was about to look at juniors when he was in high school, is the kids are picked when they're 18 years old versus guys coming out of the NFL who are, usually at least 20, but more likely 21, 22, and at a very different maturity. That's the reason why you have guys like Cody Glass, who was just traded by the Penguins, who was a number one pick. And Cody Glass is he's a borderline NHLer at this point, but he was a number one pick because he was picked at 18. So when these guys are picked at 18, 19, you don't know, and they develop at different rates.
Yeah, to your point about Phil Tomasino, the Penguins picked him up in November of this past year for a 4th round pick from Nashville. So they basically got him for nothing. Some of the other things that happened that the Penguins, some of the trades they did, they got Luke Shen and then they traded him again, and I thought that was a good deal. They traded him for basically
unbelievable.
Yeah, for what did they get? They got a
second and a
fourth for him. Yeah, right. And they also traded Michael Bunning. So there's another really good a good guy that's gone, but they got good value back for him. And Anthony Beauvillier, they got a second round pick for, which is absolutely amazing that they were able to get rid of Beauvillier and get a second round pick. So
Beauvillier was traded last year for a 5th round pick.
Yeah, so I think they're making the right deals. And like you said, they basically picked up Connor Dewar and Connor Timmins for nothing, for a 5th round pick for both of those guys. But there was something with, I think, that Lawton, or that was it the Lawton deal that because Lawton ended up going to Toronto.
Toronto,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, Toronto had to clear some space. So I think what ended up happening is they had to dump those guys, and Kyle Dubas is very familiar with them. So he was like, "Yeah, we'll take them." And actually, they both played in the game against Minnesota, which they won. So I like what they're doing. I think they're going in the right direction. I just hope that whatever they do in the off season brings some more momentum to getting better players. And the big wild card in all this is, will Sullivan play the young guys again? That really what it comes down to. He, at this point, he's basically lost most of his veteran guys. They're still going to unfortunately have Kevin Hayes next year and probably Noel Acciari, although Acciari's in his last year of his contract next year. So maybe they can work some magic. I know that everybody's hyped up on the Carlson deal. I think you just got to play that guy out. The same with the Graves contract. Just put Graves on that third pair. I know he's too expensive, but it beats having to buy him out and deal with that money on the roster, on the salary cap for the next 3 years. Just
the buyout is so punitive.
Yeah. So I think you just got to. These are defensemen that you can play. It'll be interesting to see what they do with Grzelcyk in the offseason. I think they're going to sign him. What do you think, Scott?
I don't know, because I think a lot of it depends on Timmins and how he does, because he's restricted. And if Timmins plays well, I think he could, be solid in that third pair. I think one of the just amazing things for me, and I'm so excited for the kid, is just to see Ryan Shea get another contract. And
yeah, that's right. They gave him
Ryan Shea was playing with Letang in the top pair last night, and he didn't look out of place. And you just love seeing a guy like that who's struggled and toiled in the minors get a deal. And I think the situation now is similar. Penguin fans will remember Justin Schultz. At the time, Justin Schultz was a reclamation project. He was traded for a 6th round pick. And, Justin Schultz ended up being in the second pair, Stevie, for 4 or 5 years for the Penguins. Yeah. Eventually left, and he got a mega deal to leave. So, you just really need to hit on a couple of these guys, can make a big difference. And defensemen, to close the loop on Grzelcyk, I think the development of Harrison Brunicky,
good point.
Who a lot of people thought could have made the team this year as an 18-year-old. He just dazzled people.
Yeah.
He was a 2nd round pick last year, so our top pick last year. So he'll be on the team next year.
What?
Okay, guys. Well, listen,
right.
we are finally officially live on X. So if you're joining us on X, thanks for being here. Sorry about the technical difficulties. I'm guessing that it is not us. It is X.
It's you.
But you can always catch the podcast
on
the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you get your freaking podcasts. And, of course, jump on over to YouTube at the Sports Porch Podcast. Subscribe to us there. We're damn close to 100 subscribers there. We'd like to get that up to 1,000 as quickly as possible. Counselor, thanks so much for your insight. I'm Grant Schwabini. I'm watching these guys go back and forth, and I'm thinking, why don't we just have a hockey show for these guys? Because honestly, I mean, listen, no disrespect to the hockey fans out there, but I was bored shitless.
I mean,
I love when the Penguins win, and I like the machinations of like Ovechkin scoring a lot of goals, and
like the Grizzleck breakdown was not exactly inspiring.
No, and basically because of that, there's only one of these dumb pancakes left because I ate 2 full ones while you guys were talking.
Save
about
that
hockey.
one for me.
Okay, it's all yours here.
So basically, the big summation was Dubas just has to make the right picks and choose the right players.
Yep, right. It's kind of like every week when we do our NFL picks. So Klein, what you're saying is they're either going to win or they're going to lose.
Well, it's very different because you're flipping picks for players.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, in all honesty, I love the interaction. I think you guys should think about branching off. Obviously still doing the sports porch, but you guys should get together every week and do a little NHL breakdown.
All right.
We should get the counselor.
We might as well because the Penguins are damn boring doing the recap of their
break down some tape, go over who the NHL first rounders are going to be.
Yeah. Break down the playoffs this year, the two of you. We're being dead serious now.
Yeah,
Scott,
seriously.
Scott's looking at us like there's some kind of punchline coming.
Serious.
Right. Yeah, I'm totally serious too.
I know you are.
We're trying to grow the brand. We need some hockey expertise, and I'll be goddamned if I'm going to step up to the plate.
Who better?
It's actually refreshing to talk to somebody who knows what they're talking about.
Yeah, and like who better to talk about hockey than a father of a kid who wasn't good enough to make it?
And there you go.
Yeah.
All right. Welcome to the porch.
You played high school in Minnesota, Mark, so I don't know.
I am with you, Chris. See, Amy May agrees. She seems to agree with a lot of the things that I say. She likes to come out.
Stalkers do that.
Shut your mouth.
He's starting to get worried. Why don't
Shut your trap?
All right.
Wow.
Last thing this evening is something we like to do here called What We Are Watching. And yes, I'm going to let the Grand Schwabini explain what this is.
Well, this is the portion of the show where we give back to you, our audience, our viewers, our listeners. We understand the tough time that it takes when you're at home and you're trying to find that new show to watch. There's so many options, so many choices, right? There's Hulu, there's Netflix, there's Amazon Prime, there's Apple TV Plus, there is Freebie, there is Newbie, there is Booby. I don't know what that one's about. But I will tell you, when it comes to shows, you don't have to worry anymore. You don't have to surf. We'll do it for you. We will tell you what is good to watch and what not to watch. Just settle in with us, sit back and enjoy the ride, and your viewing pleasure will be enhanced.
And the only qualification for that is that you have to have finished the season that you're watching. So you don't have to finish the whole show. If it has 20 seasons and you just finished season 10, it's cool because you finished season 10. You give it a review up to that point. And if you're watching a documentary that's one episode or like a movie, you got to finish the movie. You can't walk out on it or turn it off and then be like, it sucked. You got to suffer, and then we will suffer with you.
Indeed.
You have to suffer through the suck.
With us this week. We're going to start with HJ. HJ is watching. This frightens me.
This looks a little scary.
You shouldn't be frightened by this.
Yeah.
Cassandra.
Yeah.
So this is a horror sci-fi movie.
Cassandra on Netflix.
Netflix. Yeah. Okay. I saw a review that said this is the best sci-fi movie I've ever seen. So
it's a movie. It's not a series.
No. I'm sorry. It's a series.
He always does that.
I
Have you
do
noticed that?
I do that. Yeah.
It's like me and Justin Wilson.
Because I just lump them all together and I think, okay, it's like a movie.
Gotcha.
Anyway, so yeah, it's I think it's eight episodes. It's on Netflix. Each episode's like 45 minutes. It's subtitled. It's in German. I don't know how I get stuck on the German movie.
Seriously.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, the reviewer said this is the best sci-fi movie that they've ever seen.
Were they correct?
They were not correct.
Okay.
It's not the best, but it is very interesting from the standpoint. It takes place in modern day. but this family buys a house in modern day. But this Cassandra, that person, that robot that you see, was actually made back in like the 70s.
Is it a haunted doll?
It's kind of like that. You don't know what it is, but it's you think it's a program. Okay. And there's this huge like 1970s computer in the basement, something that would take up the whole entire basement, and it runs this thing. And there are video screens in every room. And Cassandra is like Alexa, today's modern AI. It's learning about you as you talk to it. So it knows everything about you. It knows your whole life history. It can look everything up. So it's kind of creepy from that standpoint. And it's trying to be your friend. But as it turns out, guess what? It's not your friend.
No way. You're kidding.
And people die. And it gets really weird. And so that's all I'm really going to say about that, because you can figure out what happens once a computer has control of your entire life, has control of your entire house, and can do whatever it wants to you whenever it wants to, because it never sleeps.
That kind of sounds like my phone. Right now.
Yeah, if your phone could move around and put things on its robot that can hurt you.
So
you're going down a really slippery slope.
What is the final? What is the final judgment here? Do you say watch it?
The final judgment is, if you're interested in sci-fi, it's worth a look. But I think if you're really into sci-fi, you're going to be disappointed. If you like kind of a drama movie where there's like a villain and you want to see what happens to the villain, then you probably would like it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's
fair enough.
It's neither a thumbs up nor a thumbs down. It's an it depends.
I put it this way. I was able to get through it pretty easily.
Okay.
Because I like horror.
Right.
So I like to see what happens to the bad guy in the end. And
you mean you like horror?
Horror.
Yeah.
H-O-R-R-O-R.
That Pittsburgh accent turns it into horror. Did you know that? Horror.
Yeah, that's not an easy word to say. Let me spell it for you. Horror.
That's what you like. That still sounds the same.
Yeah.
The Steelers have a horrible quarterback situation.
Was there?
No, there's no sex in this movie.
Oh, I'm not watching it then.
No, it's not good from a sex standpoint, but it is good.
I ask that for every show.
It is good from a thriller standpoint, and the sci-fi is meh.
If you were like, I watched the new Brazilian highlight tournament, I'd be like, was there sex in it? No. Okay, I'm not watching highlight.
I thought you were going to talk about.
You're like,
wax.
I think
was there Brazilian wax in it?
Chris off track there.
There you go. No, that's Chris right on track. You guys know that. Okay, HJ Cassandra on Netflix. We got a comment coming in. HJ wants to bring back Chili Billy.
I would like to bring back Chili Billy, Mike.
All righty.
But I would like to put him on at 10 o'clock because I can't stay up that late.
The Grand Schwabini is watching
Prime Target on Apple TV Plus.
I saw this. I started watching it, but go for it.
If you can see the main guy there, he was in The White Lotus 2, season 2.
Who was that guy? I didn't recognize.
He's the guy who works for the guy in the big house.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Everybody needs a guy that works for a guy.
Yeah, I know a guy that works for a guy
in the big house.
Jeff Paulus in the house. What's up, Jess?
Hey, Jeff.
It was good. So the premise of this is basically the CIA, or the version of the CIA in England, or MI6 or whatever they are. They follow and surveil the brightest mathematicians.
Oh, okay.
Because they're afraid that a new technology will be developed, and if they don't develop it first, it could be dire consequences. So, this guy is a mathematician at Cambridge. And he's being watched. The guy who is instructing him is being watched. All this kind of stuff.
Got it.
So the funny kind of thing is, my wife and I would we had our own nickname for the show. We called it the Math Police. Okay. So essentially what goes on here is that there's a theory and it revolves around prime numbers.
Uh-huh.
And if they can solve the theory, it would, in a sense, be able to unlock any key, any password to anything.
Got it.
And obviously what could happen in the world with that kind of power would be intense.
Got it.
And so the show is really just about, do these people want to kill him? Do these people want to make him work for them? And a whole bunch of stuff. And it's actually pretty good. I mean, I would say it's definitely worth watching. I wouldn't say I watched it at the same time as I watched Paradise.
Right.
So, I liked Paradise more.
Very good.
One of the things about the Math Police show is that there's a lot of writing,
prime target.
There's a lot of writing on the board, with all kinds of crazy math equations, and you're looking at it, you're just thinking I'm dumber by the second.
Differential equations.
Because I have no idea what the hell they're writing over there. Is it even?
Hucky Jesus is going to be watching this in 15 minutes.
I'll tell you what, I'll watch it and I'll let you know if it's real.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
You think you'll be able to figure that out?
I'll be able to determine if it's a differential equation.
We got a beautiful mind over here.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
It's good. It's really good. I mean, it's it wouldn't be in my top 10 or anything, but it's definitely worth watching.
Somebody say my name?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Name a prime number now.
3.
1.
There you go. I mean,
there you go.
We're all beautiful minds.
There you go.
I would use that. I would use that code back in the day to help Chuck get the Spice Channel, so he didn't have to leave cash on your desk.
I would almost say, I guess,
but he had the password. He didn't need the code.
No, but he would. But remember, the bill would come, and Mark would come downstairs. For those of you, listen, we back in college, back in the day, we had the Spice Channel.
Chuck still denies this.
I know he does. We were on. We all lived together with a bunch of roommates.
Maybe
and
it was
Mark,
Chucky.
the Grand Schwabina was it was Chuck. It was
I was
Chuck.
in charge of the cable.
The Grand Schwabini
was probably what was that? What was that other Britain guy's name?
Paul.
It was probably Paul.
No.
It was
Paul.
Chuck.
Paul didn't need it. He had a real live woman in Schwab's bed.
And I don't think Paul would have actually paid me.
No, Paul would have never paid you.
That's true. Good point.
No, so every month Mark would come down and do the cable breakdown. This is you. And by the way, who ordered this movie, and this movie? And sometimes they were just regular movies. We'd be like, yeah, I got that one. Yeah, we all got that one together. And then there would always be Spice Channel movies, if you know what I'm saying. And none of us would admit to it because truthfully, I never did it. I never even thought about it. I don't know why I didn't think about it. I would have done it and paid you.
That's because you were flicking the channels real quick. And
why are you trying to convince us of this?
I'm not trying to convince.
Later.
I'm not. What I'm saying is the money would always magically show up on Mark's desk. And then remember, you did the research. We all did the research. We did the math. You were the movies were rented at 11:22 a.m. And we would do the math. I'd be like, well, I was at work this time, blah, 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 blah. The only person who was in the house was Chuck.
Right.
And to this day, he still does not admit to. What does he have to lose or gain now? I mean, does he still owe you money?
It's the thrill of the game, I guess. Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So prime target. There you go. They went to a Super Bowl with. Oh no, that's the wrong comment. I was like, wow, is Pat way off track?
Looks like Amy May. I've never heard of the Spice Channel.
Yeah. Well,
look it up.
You don't want to.
Yeah. I think you can. I think you can draw your own conclusions there, Amy May, and you'd be probably correct. Okay, guys, I went back to my roots again. I watched something on Apple TV Plus, Vietnam, the war that changed America.
This looks good.
It was tremendous.
Tremendous.
How many episodes?
I want to say 6.
Better or worse than
season?
Black Hawk Down?
Better.
Much better?
Yeah, better. Much better.
Okay. So now I'm getting a sense for what you think is really good versus so-so.
Right. Right.
But last week you said that was really good.
I mean, I would think after 32 years of friendship, you'd have that down.
He didn't say the Black Hawk.
No,
he was lukewarm.
Were you lukewarm?
I thought it was good, but I didn't think it was great.
Yeah.
Right. There you go. There you go.
This I thought was great. It's narrated by Ethan Hawke, who has perfected the scratchy Donald Sutherland voice.
Well, you have a man crush on him. Let's face it.
I love his crooked teeth.
He was great in Reality Bites.
He was a long time ago, and in Training Day. Remember that?
Oh, he was in that movie that lasted like 12 years.
He's in a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
you know?
You're right.
Yeah.
He is in a lot of stuff.
He's perfected the. It's 1963. America is on the brink of war, and we just lost a president. What was going to happen? Like he's like totally got that.
That doesn't sound anything like Ethan Hawke.
No, he changes his voice to sound like a documentarian. All right,
right.
You know what? Screw you guys. I'm just going to tell you about the show.
Yeah.
So anyway, it takes you from the origins of the Vietnamese conflict, from the early 60s after Kennedy was assassinated. So it really doesn't go into, a lot of the Kennedy years and then when the French were in there and all that crap. It really kind of starts in the mid to late 60s when LBJ was kind of ramping up the war and public opinion was kind of on the side of this. And then it takes you all the way through to 1975. When we finally get the last MPs out of there from the embassy. The really cool thing is that there's a lot of footage from Vietnam that in our lifetimes we've seen, film, photos. So they do the same thing that they did in the Black Hawk Down one. They're able now, because tensions with Vietnam have cooled over the last 20 years. They're able to go over there and talk to
those people,
not only former South Vietnamese citizens, but also North Vietnamese citizens and people in the army and politics there. And then they also bring in a bunch of the soldiers that fought that are obviously, still living, but getting older here. And you get this back and forth about it. And for me, it really, it helped me to form a perspective or better form the perspective I had on the war growing up, which was we should have never been there, but we should have treated our soldiers a lot better. Sure. But, this kind of thing. But there's a lot of stuff in the back channeling of this war. It takes you through LBJ and then Nixon and then the beginning of the Ford administration.
Did they cover?
It's awesome.
Did they cover when John Kreese was a POW, or was that just Cobra Kai?
John,
yeah.
Oh my God,
I would like that answer also.
What a mess!
It was covered in Cobra Kai.
They did it in Cobra Kai.
They did talk about the POWs there and how they were used as bargaining chips. And
there you go. That could have been John Kreese.
This one guy where they went to his wife and said, these were the pilots that he went from missing in action to killed in action. And she got on with her life. And then all of a sudden they showed up on her door a couple years later and were like, no, wait, he's alive.
Wow.
She was like, holy shit.
That's crazy.
Well, they ended up getting back together and it's a heartwarming story, but it's really, to be honest with you, it's, this war is a war that even though we were, basically 0 to 5 years old before it ended,
right?
It really shaped our younger days and the way we looked at war, because World War II was just a film to us, but Vietnam had just happened, and the fallout from Vietnam, much like the fallout from Afghanistan and the Middle East that is happening now and happened in the last 4 or 5 years, was really happening as we were growing up. And that's when a lot of these movies were made, much like the movies that are being made now. So I found it to be really a great trip, not only down memory lane, but just kind of down that, let's put it gives you a good perspective. It's definitely worth watching. One of the better documentaries
I'd watch it.
I like a good documentary.
I'd watch it.
Yeah. Now the counselor's been very quiet. So before we leave and let you all go back to your normal lives,
if there's such a thing,
we're going to give the counselor an opportunity to chime in on anything he wants right now, other than it looks like you're going to be watching it, Schwaber, because Amy May says she would like to watch a Vietnam.
Sounds good.
Yep. Once again, she's taking another one of, she eats the food I give her. She, she shows up down at Trader Joe's.
We have to go down this path every time.
Please stop.
Trying to. Before you know it, she's going to be living here, Schwaber. Oh, and you're welcome to, Amy May, anytime. All right, counselor, I digress.
I think I told you, Chris, when I saw you at Trader Joe's, I recently finished Masters of the Air, which I thought was tremendous.
Yeah.
I know you guys have talked about it before, so I won't rehash, but it was very meaningful for me. I have an uncle who got a silver and a bronze star in the Battle of the Bulge.
Wow.
That I was very close to growing up. Yeah.
Wow.
So he passed away about 7 years ago, but, lived to be 90 and, had some amazing stories to tell. And so it's, a lot of that was pretty meaningful for me, especially seeing when guys were, behind enemy lines trying to get out in the foul weather, because my uncle was in that. And crazy thing about him, just the one fact from having trench foot so bad, he wore 2 pairs of socks till the day he died. Even in the summer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was that part of his PTSD or
no, his circulation was screwed up the rest of his life.
All
and his feet would get chilled and he couldn't get them warm again. And,
wow.
So at the end of the Battle of the Bulge, he went to the aid station and he had to have his boots cut off of him. They were frozen to his feet. But anyway.
Yeah. What exactly was the Bulge?
The Battle of the Bulge?
You know?
World
War II.
No, I mean just it was an area called the Bulge.
No.
The stalemate between the Germans and the Allies.
They launched a surprise attack in the wintertime against U.S. forces that were pushing through France towards Germany.
Mostly in Denmark.
Right. And they created what they called a bulge in our lines.
And part of what they did was they opened up the dikes of these dams and they flooded this area too. To
slow them down, right?
But my uncle volunteered. He was in the Signal Corps, and he volunteered and went behind enemy lines and was discovered and ran out of the Ardennes forest, taking on mortar fire.
Yeah.
And all he ever said was, "I was the fastest guy in my unit. What was I supposed to do?"
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Thank God he was the fastest guy.
Scotty, I have a great uncle who died in the Battle of the Bulge.
I remember. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Nobody in my family was ever a hero. How about you, Schwab?
Well, I mean,
I don't know that for real.
I mean, my grandfather and my father were both in the Navy.
Yeah, but your father was a psychiatrist. He was just treating dudes.
No,
he was in the Navy.
Well, he was
erectile dysfunction and stuff like that.
No, he was when he was in the Navy, he was a medical doctor. He was treating people who were coming back wounded.
Oh, that's what it was.
But in Philadelphia, he didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, he didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was just like being in the ER in Center City, Philly.
Pretty much
what it is.
On a boat.
Much.
Gunshot wounds.
Pretty much.
Hand grenades.
But the bottom line is, if that's why I can get USAA. So deal with it.
You got something that Gronk wants.
Okay, Gronk. Perfect ending. All right. Thanks for watching the Sports Black and Gold all over the world at Facebook, YouTube, X, and Instagram, and every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. Do us a favor. Go on over to YouTube. Subscribe at the Sports Podcast. I'm going to drop the show right after the show on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, Spotify, or anywhere you get your freaking podcasts. For the Grand Schwabini, for Hockey Jesus, for our special guest, the counselor, who we hope comes back more and more and more. I'm your technical director, and I am out. Jablonsk.
Do we have a quarterback?